Slick, I was thinking about it this morning. We've talked about the Jets, rightfully so. They acquired Aaron Rodgers. Talked a lot about the Baltimore Ravens, rightfully so. They acquired Odell Beckham, drafted Zay Flowers, got a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken. We've talked a lot about so many teams in the AFC, but for whatever reason, we ain't talked about the Browns. And I thought about it, and I said, wait a second. The Browns have won as many playoff games as the Ravens since 2018. They've won more games than the playoff games than the Steelers since 2018. Teams in their division. I'm not going to talk about your Bengals, obviously. Y'all just went to a Super Bowl. When I think about what the Browns were able to do 2-3 years ago with Baker Mayfield in an 11-5 season, you pay DeShaun Watson a boatload of money because he's supposed to be a top-tier quarterback. The last time we saw him play a full season, he was a top-flight quarterback. I'm thinking to myself, the Browns are being overlooked. You still have Myles Garrett, who is a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. You have DeShaun Watson, who is supposed to be a top 10 quarterback with top 5 quarterback potential. You added Zadarius Smith. He's another great rusher on the opposite end. Are the Browns being overlooked in your mind?
No. Is DeShaun Watson potentially being overlooked? I would say yes, because I don't think last year was a reflection of what he is as a quarterback, and I would expect that he's going to improve. But as someone who pays an awful lot of attention to the AFC North, because of my Bengals being there, look at who they're up against and look at all the talent that they have had. They're being slept on deservedly because they're the Cleveland Browns. And no matter what you put on the field, it doesn't seem to meet expectation. And I can look at so many parts of that outside of DeShaun Watson and have reservations. Are you guys sold on Kevin Stefanski as the head coach? Are you sold on?
I'm not selling my stock, but I'm not sold. I feel you. Okay. I'm still holding it.
So,
I'm still holding it for right now.
So it would be like, you know what, Stefanski's going to turn this thing around, and he's going to be going up against Jim Harbaugh and Zach Taylor, and he's going to transform Mike Tomlin. I mean, he's up against some stiff competition. Alex Van Pelt is the offensive coordinator. I would feel better about the Cleveland Browns if DeShaun Watson was singing the praises of Alex Van Pelt than Alex Van Pelt singing the praises of DeShaun Watson. Because I know what DeShaun Watson is capable of. Jim Schwartz coming over from the Eagles as defensive coordinator. Are we certain? I mean, he was kind of getting dragged at the end.
A couple years back with the Eagles. A couple years back.
Are we convinced that he's going to transform or be able to utilize the Cleveland Browns' talent? I've never questioned. I mean, look at the roster. You're like, we've been thinking for a couple years now. They're just a step away. But it hasn't happened. And when I look at the rest of the division, I'm going to need to see it because of the Browns' history.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of everyone is just waiting to see. I mean, last year was kind of a wash with DeShaun not coming in until week 13. When he did come back, he was 3-3, had losses to Tyler Huntley and Kenny Pickett.
He was mid.
Obviously, he was.
Very mid.
He was. And those were divisional losses as well, which would make sense. He hasn't played in a while, and he's losing to lesser talent at the quarterback position, but much better coaching. He also threw 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his 6 starts, so lowest career passer rating in a season. It didn't give us a window to judge what DeShaun's going to look like in Cleveland and what this team was going to look like at all. We knew that was a wash the moment that the suspension came through. Right. So I think everyone is just waiting. We don't know what this Browns team is going to look like. On paper, again, you can pitch me on a lot of teams. Of course they're loaded with talent. They've been loaded with talent, and they're still, as Rick said, the Cleveland Browns. And somehow they manage to mess it up all the time in many different creative ways. I actually think that they brainstorm about ways to mess things up. So, and the other thing is the expectations are dramatic, as they should be. DeShaun Watson is not expected to be a top 10 quarterback. Yep. DeShaun Watson got $230 million fully guaranteed. DeShaun Watson better be the best quarterback in the NFL next year. By my standards, you get paid $250 million guaranteed. You're the only quarterback to ever get that money. You better be the best. You better not be like, okay. They better win the division next year. Why else are you paying that kind of money? So I think everyone is just waiting to see. It's not that they're being overlooked. I don't expect him to be the best quarterback in the division. I don't expect them to win the division. And I don't expect him to be the best quarterback in the NFL. But I don't know what to expect from the Browns.
Yeah, I just think that looking at the Browns team, they have some talent. But when you ask about the attention or if they're getting overlooked or slept on, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they are exactly where they should be at, right? They didn't really have a great year last year. DeShaun Watson's a hell of a quarterback. He missed some time, and he didn't look good. I mean, I thought that that was probably ideal. I mean, he was coming off some time, got some rust, hasn't played football, and now he's back, had the whole offseason to train, to recover, fresh mind, nothing off the field. I think he'll be a better player. I think the team will be better. But it's hard to really say, man, because you look at the schedule. First of all, they got the Bengals twice a year, and we all feel like the Bengals are top dog in that division. I think the Steelers will be a lot better. They have a hell of a coach. I think a young quarterback that's getting better. You never know how that might unfold. And then the Ravens. The Ravens are already good and hard to beat. Now they add help, more talent. You look at, they got the 49ers, you got the Jaguars, you got the Jets, you got the Seahawks. Those are all playoff teams. So when you ask, are they getting overlooked? I got to say they're right where we're at, because even last year, they didn't have a great defense. You think of all the defensive players they have. They were like 21st in defense.
They weren't great.
So, I mean, I don't think they're overlooked. I think
Here's
they're
my
right
thought, though, 2-5. Going into this coming season, DeShaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, who do you think will be more successful?
This year?
Yes, sir.
That's a great question.
I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers.
I would say Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not in a good division either.
I could see DeShaun Watson having
an easy division. I'm sorry. It's not like he has, you can make the same argument for everyone in that division.
I would say I could see DeShaun Watson having better numbers. I could see Aaron Rodgers having more success.
Here's why I say that. We're not waiting to see with the New York Jets. And the Jets haven't been to the playoffs since 2010.
Yeah.
Jets were 7-10 last year.
Yeah.
Browns were 7-10 last year.
Good question.
Jets got a new quarterback.
Fair point.
By every metric, the Browns got a new quarterback, because DeShaun Watson was not last year who he will be this year. So what I found fascinating, and Joy, I do agree with you, we are waiting to see, but why? Because DeShaun is showing up this year anew, a whole offseason under his belt. Aaron Rodgers is showing up literally new. Both 7-10 teams. When DeShaun showed up to the Browns last year in week 12, they were 4-7. But they had lost 5 of those 7 games by 1 score or less. So if we're not going to wait and see with the Jets, this is really why I brought this topic up today. Why are we waiting to see with the Browns? In my mind, Shady, we should be saying Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, DeShaun Watson, Zadarius Smith, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. Like, we should be jumping on that.
You know what's the difference is? I think we've seen the same story with the Browns, right? Good team, talent, tough, hard, but they always get there and they fall off. Always get there, fall off. Where the Jets, we always say, man, if they only had a quarterback, if they only had a quarterback, how this team fights every year with a good coach, good defense, no quarterback. Solid running game, no quarterback. They finally get a quarterback, we'll see what happens. We've never seen this part of the Jets, but we've seen this part with the Cleveland Browns.
It's also a completely different story.
Agreed.
It's Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, who played last year in a constant battle between the front office and him for several years now, leaving to New York City to play for the Jets, who, even though they were awful last year, were a big story because they were so bad.
I think you're right.
So there are some narrative things that are keeping us from being even excited or interested in what the Browns have going on. On top of the fact that, like Shady said, they have been a habitual disappointment for as long as I've been breathing air on this earth.
I think that you're right, which is why I wanted to bring up the question. I think we're talking about the Jets so much because of the story. But the Jets are this year who the Browns were last year. Remember, we said of the Browns last year, they're just a quarterback away. They were 11-5 with Baker Mayfield. They went to the playoffs, won a playoff game, dismantled the Steelers primarily defensively. I believe that was a 4-interception game. Baker Mayfield just had to show up and not throw picks. And then we're like, oh, if only they had a quarterback. They still have that quarterback. That's why I'm just like, wait a second,
but we didn't
see
see the quarterback last year. Like, we watched Aaron Rodgers play an entire season last year. Yes, they got their quarterback in DeShaun Watson, but we knew he wasn't going to play. There was some period of the season last year where he wasn't going to play. So we were never really actually excited about the Browns last year.
That's why I'm like...
And I feel like with the Jets, I don't think the Jets are awful. I think what they've done the last couple of years have been awful, but I don't think it's an awful team. I don't think they're an awful team.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the roster, I don't think they're an awful team. So I'm saying if you add a dude like Aaron Rodgers to that type of team, that's why I think that's one of the reasons he even wanted to go there is because, damn, they got the rookie offensive player of the year, got the defensive player.
Cosign.
Why wouldn't I want to go there?
I almost wonder, because Joy, I think you've synthesized this perfectly. I almost wonder, Slick, if we had missed the Browns' excitement window. That's why I'm trying to use the defibrillator, if you will, to re-energize it. Because Joy's right. When they signed DeShaun, we're like, but he ain't going to play.
Yeah.
So, like, we missed that window.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
They still did what should be something that the whole NFL world should be looking at with a keen eye. Slick, take us home.
And, well, the Jets could end up being that. We could be getting hyped up about the Jets.
True, too. Good point. Yeah,
and they could be
Very
the next
good point.
iteration of the Browns. I would still look at the two particular divisions. Because I think if we look at the Buffalo Bills, whether it's fair or not, we look at them as kind of having been disappointing. Like, they haven't done everything that we hyped them up to be. We expect the Miami Dolphins to be measurably better.
I do.
But we don't really know. Like, I just look at the AFC North. I don't have any doubts the Ravens are going to be tough. Bengals are going to be tough. Pittsburgh, I think, overachieved last year, is always tough. So I think it's more of what they're up against. It's hard for me to, like, get excited about the Browns.
Hold up, bro. Hold on.
Division?
The AFC East?
Yeah, AFC East.
Understood.
Okay.
But comparative, like, I think they're on the way up as opposed to what the AFC North have proved themselves to be the last year.
Could it be a tie? What you think?
It is fascinating. I do think, here's what I would say. I think that the AFC North is more proven. In the sense that me and Jory would say, the Dolphins are going to go for it. But we know if Lamar Jackson's out there, check, Ravens going to be great.
I get it.
The Bengals are more proven than the Bills.
And the coaching.
Correct. I would say that. I agree with you. I think they're the same, but the AFC North is more proven.
I guess, and it's always an opinion, but I just feel like, I mean, the AFC's got good coaches. They got a lot of talent, got good teams.
Wouldn't you say it's open?
And then the Dolphins are definitely different when Tua is out there.
No doubt.
Another year, it might, and then the Bills. Like, even though the Bills haven't, they're so good that we always put them up there. They're the favorite. Josh Allen MVP, the Super Bowl. So they're up there for a reason. They just haven't been winning the games that they should have, that we feel like they should have. But it's a tough one.
Yeah, it is tough. You just got two Super Bowl winning coaches and one coach that just went to a Super Bowl in the AFC North. It's splitting hairs, really.
But
you're
right. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Where would you real quick, just for the fun of sports television? What division do you think is better, North or East? So AFC North, for those at home that aren't incredibly well versed, in the North you got the Ravens, you got the Bengals, you got the Steelers, you got the Browns. AFC East, you got the Dolphins, you got the Patriots, you got the Bills and Jets.
I'm going with AFC East. You know why? Because like we're talking about the Browns like the Browns is good. Seriously, though, what have they done? They got some talent, but what have they done?
That's why we're asking if they've been overlooked.
Last year, though, you had the Bills in the playoffs.
Yep.
You had the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. Yep. And you had the...
That was it.
But the Jets this year going to be the playoffs.
You're not wrong.
Come on.
But last year you had the Bengals in the playoffs.
I know. But hold on. But low key, I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do that for the viewers. I ain't going to confuse y'all. But look, it is a close one, though.
It is.
It's a close one.
We'll decide off camera.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.